Hello everyone, welcome back to the third part series of our Fintech Mobile App tutorial. In our previous two videos, we built up the home page and the credit card page. If you missed those two, you can find the links in the description below. Today, we're focusing on creating the activity page session. So, with that said, let's jump right in. So this is the activity page we are about to build. So we have the app bar section over here and also the smart cards in the horizontal manner. The graph below that displays the total spending, and lastly the transaction list. So let's start building from scratch in the activity page. So within the activity page over here, let's start to give this card for the background color. So it's going to be colors.white. And let's proceed to build the app bar, right? So you can pass in the app bar arguments, which in turn also take in the app bar widgets. So in the app bar, we need to specify the leading. And the leading places the widget at the very start in the app bar. So the leading expects a widget, and the widget is going to be the icon button. And we want the outline version of this icon button with on press and also the icon. So in here, we need to specify the icon. The icon is going to be the back arrow icon. So it's going to be icons dot arrow back iOS new. There we go. So let's save in the changes over here. So let's give this app bar an icon background color. And that's going to be colors.white. So next to the leading is going to be the title that displays the text of activity. So you pass in the title and it expects a text widget. So in here we pass in the text of an activity. So let's build in this title text, right? So with a style argument, you can assign it a text style. So in here you need to provide it a font weight. That's going to be font weight. We assign 500 to this and saving the changes. We need one more icon button next to the activity text, and that will be placed within the action buttons, right? And these action buttons comes in array format where you can specify a list of widgets, right? And this will place the widget at the very end in the app bar. So in here, I'll copy that and repeat it in the action buttons, and I need to change in the icon over here to be icons.more horizontal. That is the horizontal more action button. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it with the app bar. So let's move on with the smart cards. Now we found within the body. So I'll get rid of the center widget over here and return a single child scroll view. So the chart of this single child scroll view is going to be a column, and the column takes in the children. So in here we need to specify a list of widgets in here. So in here we are going to specify another scroll view, and we change the direction using the scroll direction, and it's going to be axis.horizontal. There we go. So the chart of this scroll view is basically going to be a row widget, right? So we want to align the smart cards in a row format. So the row expects the children. So here I'll be generating a list of cards, right? So I'll use list.generate and expect the length to be passing. So I want to generate 3 cards over here with a callback function where you can access the index in here. So you can access the index in here. Then we return a widget. We are going to return a container as a widget over here. There we go. So in here, let's give this container width, right? And the width is going to be 340. And let's proceed to give this container a height as well, a height of 75. Let's start this container by giving it a decoration, and this decoration takes in the box decoration over here. So in this box decoration, you can specify the color, right? So we want the color to be from the RGB. So color dots from RGB. So in here we need to specify the alpha, the red, the green, the blue color. So the red is going to be having a value of 16. Then we need to specify the green color over here, 80, and the blue color is going to be 98. So let's save in the changes. There we go. As you can see, the cars. So let's wrap this container in a padding widget. So this padding is going to affect all size, a value of 8. So let's save in the changes. There we go. As you can see, the card in the horizontal manner. So let's provide some border radius to this card. The border radius is going to be a circular one. We pass in the value, a value of 20. There we go. Proceed to display the contents in this card. So the chart of this container is going to be a row widget. And in this row, we are going to specify, it is in the children, we are going to specify a text in here. So the first text is going to be the smart pay cards as seen on the card. So it's going to be the smart pay cards. And let's proceed to style this text, right? So the style, we can assign it a text style. So in here we can change in the font size and also the font weight. So first of all, let's set the color to be colors.white, and also provide some font size in here. So the font size is going to be a value of 16, and the font weight as well. So the font weight is going to have a value of 600. So let's save in the changes in here. There we go. So we need more padding in this container, right? So we need to wrap the row in a padding widget, and this padding is going to affect all size, a value of 8. As you can see, it shifts a bit. There we go. So next to this text, we are going to have an additional text that displays the card pin. So we'll be having one more additional text, and this text is going to display the card pin, right? So you use the asterisk sign and pass in the last 4 digits of this card pin. So we're going to maintain the same color as white. Let's first of all space out this 2 text, right? So you can use the spacer widget to achieve this. There we go. And we need to add one more property in the row, right? And that's going to be the MasterCard widget. We have already created that before, so we can access that over here. So it's basically 2 circular avatars, right? And we use transform translate to overlap these 2 circular avatars. So next to the text containing the card pin, you are going to have the MasterCard symbol. So I'll paste in that over here, and we need to get rid of the cons at the top. There you go. So I'll paste in the cons in here. So let's space out between the text and also the MasterCard. So I'll wrap the row in a padding widget, and this padding is only going to affect the left side. So it's going to be edge instead dot only. Then we pass in the left value of 8. You can see we have enough space. So let's make it 12. There we go. And that's pretty much it. You can see we are done with our cards. So let's wrap the column in here in the padding widget, and this padding is going to affect all size, a value of 16. There we go. That looks good. So we have 3 of these smart pay cards aligned. So to change the color, we can base on the index over here to do some manipulations. So we check the index modulus 2, right? If that's equal to 0, we want to check for the even number. Then we can assign it a different colors. So if the index modulus 2 is equal to 0, else we can assign it a black color, so it's going to be colors.black, and saving the changes over here. There we go, we can see the black color. Let's provide our cons value in here, and that's basically it. So we are done with the smart card session. So the next step is to move on to the card that shows the total spending with a graph. So let's proceed with that. So below the single chart scroll view, we are going to have a size box to space out between our next widgets. So let's give it a height of 25 in here. And below that, we are going to have a container, and this container is going to have a width of double.max finite. That's going to take the available width. So we also provide a height as well. So in here, we specify the height to be 350. We pass in decoration, which in turn also takes in the box decoration. So in here, we can specify a border, right? So we want a gray border around it. So it's going to be border.or, that is in the color. Then you can specify the color to be colors.gray in here. So one different shade of gray, so we pass in a value of 300. So let's proceed to set this, give this container a border radius. So this border radius is going to have a value of 17. So once you save in the changes, you can see the effect there. So the chart of this container is going to be a column. So in here, we expect the children. So in here, we're going to have a test that will display the total spending, right? So we're going to have a test widget in here with a test of total spending. So let's proceed to start this test. So with the style, we can assign the test style, then changing the font size over here to be 14, and also set the font weight so the font weight is going to be 500, and also let's set the color to be colors.gray. There we go. So we need enough padding in here. So our passing padding in the container is going to be edge instead of or, then passing the value of 12. There we go. So below the test of total spending, we are going to have an additional test as well that will display the amount. So and for that, I will grab this test. So below here, I'm going to have a size box for spacing. So a size box of 4. So below that, we are going to have an additional text. So I'll grab the text above and changing the text in here to be the amount. So I need to specify the amount in here. So we need to increase the font size to be 24, and also changing the color here to be black, and give it a font weight of bold. I think 500 looks good. Let's change it to bold and see. Okay, this looks good. So below that, we are going to display the day, week, month, and year option, right? That's going to be a button we can switch between. And for that, I'll be creating a file. It's going to be a widget. I'll be showing over there. So I'll be creating a file in the widget directory. So I'm going to name this file as the time option button, right? That will switch between the day, week, month, and year. So I'll name the file as the time option button. And in here, we need to import the material.dat. It's going to be a stateless widget in here. And the name is going to be the time option button. So in the time option button, the build method is going to return an equal, more or less like a button. So it comes with on top, That's going to be the function that gets called. So the child of the enquire in here is going to be a container. So in the container, we need to provide some decoration to this container. So we pass in the box decoration. We define a border radius in here. It's going to be a circular border radius. So border radius dot circular, you pass in a value. And the value in here is going to be a value of 8. So up here, I'll be defining 3 variables. The label, which is going to be of type string, and also a boolean variable that's going to be selected, right? So you can know which one to switch to. Then a function variable. So the return type is going to be void callback. Then the variable name is going to be on tab. So we can pass the on tab variable to that. So we need to require that in the constructor as well. So once we have that, we can pass in the on tab variable to the on tab of the enquire. And we need to give this container a color. And the color is going to be based on the selected value. So we use the variable is selected, right? So if it's selected, we are going to provide a color of teal with opacity. Then we pass in a value, a decimal value of 0.06. Else, you are going to have the default transparent color. So it's going to be colors.transparent, just like this. So the chart of this container is going to render the text, right? So we pass in the label. It's going to be dynamic. So let's start this label test. So with the text style, we can pass in a font size. So in here, the font size is going to be 14. So below here, I'll be creating a stateful widget. And this widget is going to be the time option row. So over here, I'll be declaring a variable that's going to be of type string, and the variable name is going to be the selected period. So this selected period variable, initially I'm going to assign it a value of the week. So it shows that this is the currently selected variable. And below that, I'm going to have a list of string. So that's also going to be another variable. And the return type of that is going to be a list of strings. So I'm going to name this variable as the periods. So it comes in the form of a list. So in here, we need to specify the periods. So the first one is going to be the day. The next one is going to be the week. The third one is going to be the month. And the final one is going to be the year. So we'll be having a list of periods in here, so we can render it in the build method. So within the build method, I'll be returning a row. As usual, testing the children. So we are going to look through the periods, right? So periods.map with a callback, where you can access each single period in here. So once we have access to each single period, we can return the time option row widget we created at the top. So in here, we need to return the time option button. So the time option button requires the label to be passing, and that's going to be passed dynamically. So we need to pass in the period. Then the selected variable, which is expected to be a boolean. So we check if the selected period, we initially assign it. We check if that is equal to the period that's being passing, and that will give us a boolean value. And also the on tab, and that's going to be the function that gets called when it's tapped. So in here, we can set state. We can set state in here. Then we can assign the value of our selected period, the period that's been passing, just like this. So you can see the argument type Dribbble can be assigned to a parameter of that list. So we need to convert this to a list in here. So below over here, we can just use the dot operator, then convert that to a list, and that will get rid of the error. and we need to face one more error in here, the on tap function. We are basically setting the state and assigning the period value to the selected period. So let's do it once more in here. So in here we set state. So I'll be going with an inline arrow function. So we set state, then we assign our selected period variable the period value in case we switch between that. And we need to provide this callback function. I think that was the error. There you go. So all we need to do is to render the time option role widget within our activity page, right? So below the text is going to display the time option role. So below this text, we will display the time options role. Then we need to proceed to import this time option role. So I will import that in here and saving the changes. There we go. We need to do one more thing. So within the time option button widget, we need to space out this text and also center it. So we need to do that. So this container is going to have a padding inside it, right? So we provide it edge instead of symmetric. So edge instead of symmetric, that affects it horizontal and vertical. So with the horizontal, we are going to provide it a value of 10. And with the vertical, we provide it a value of 6. There we go. It looks much good in here. And within where we are returning the row, you can set the main axis alignment to be main axis alignment dot center. So we have it centered as expected. There we go. How cool is this? So we can switch between the day, week, month, and also the year. So let's proceed. So let's provide a space in here with a value of 12. There we go. That's already looking good. So let's check for the next thing, right? So let's provide an additional space for the next widget. And it's going to have a height of 16. And the next thing to do is to show the graph. And for that, I'll be using the Flchart to show the graph. So I'll pop up my terminal over here and install the dependency Flchart. So fl_chart. And the command is flutter pap add fl_chart. So you can see we have successful installation in here. So once we've installed the Flchart, below the size box, you can have an expanded widget over here, and the chart of this expanded widget is going to be the line chart, which is coming from the Flchart, and it requires the data to be passed in here. So in here, I'm going to return the line chart data. So let's get rid of the const in here, and I'll be fixing the const to get rid of the error warnings. So in the line chart data, we need to specify the grade data. So you can pass in the FL grade data, then set the show to false. And we also need to specify the tiles data, right? So with that, we need to pass in the FL tiles data. So with the left tiles, it takes in the axis tiles, and with this axis tiles takes in the side tiles, and this in turn also expected widgets, and the widget is the side tiles. So here we set the show tiles to be false, right? You don't want the left tiles to be shown in here. And below that, we also need to specify the bottom tiles, and I also expect the axis tiles. And in the axis tiles over here, you need to specify the side tiles, and it expects the side tiles widget to be passing. So in here we need to show the titles to be true, right? We want to show the bottom tiles, right? So we can pass in the get tiles widget, which is a function that is in the value and also the meta over here. So over here we want to return the initial Sunday to Monday, right? So I'll be declaring a variable of tiles that comes as a list, where I'll pass in the initials of the weekdays, as in the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, up to Saturday, right? So I'll be doing that in here. And below that, I'll be declaring a variable of index, and we need to convert the value to an integer and check if the index is greater than or equal to 0. At the same time, we also check using the AND operator if the index is less than the tiles that's being passing, the length of the tiles being passing. We are going to return a test widget displaying the tiles. So we need to return the test widget where we pass in the tiles accessing the index. Just like this. There we go. So let's start this tile, right? You can assign the test tile and change the color to be a gray color. So if our conditions are not met, we can return a test of an empty string. So this basically makes sure that those tiles are not being repeated twice. So that's basically it. The reason why we are specifying an empty string. So in here we set the reverse size to be 22 and also the interval to be 1. We are going to see the effects soon, so let's proceed. We also need to specify the right tiles, right? So we don't want to show the right tiles if down with the left tiles, the bottom tiles. So the right tiles expect a widget of access tiles that is in the side tiles, which in turn also expect a widget of the side tiles. So we set the show tiles to be false, so we don't have the values being shown. So I'll repeat the same thing for the top tiles. So I'll copy this implementation. So I'll copy this implementation and changing from right tiles to top tiles, right? So we set the show tiles to be false. So once you have that, you can proceed to display or plot our points, right? So below the FL tile data, we can provide the border data, and the border data is going to be FL border data. Then we set the show to be false. Everything disappears. And also we need to provide our line bars data, right? And this expects a widget, a list of widgets in here. So in here we're going to display our line chart bar data that is in the spot, which comes as a list, and this expects a widget called the FL spot, where you need to pass in the X and Y coordinates. So I'll pass in a random value in here. So the first FL spot is going to be 02. I'll repeat it a couple of times, changing in the X and Y coordinates. There we go. So once we have this, when saving the changes, you can see our lines are being plotted. So we don't want the dot line to be shown, and also we want a curved line, so we provide that argument to face it. So below over here, you can provide the curve argument to be true, so you can see the effect, and also you don't want the dot line to be shown, right? So we set the color to be a teal color. And also set the bar width to be 3. So the dot data will be taking the FL dot data. So in here we can set the show to be false. There we go. This is how we wanted it. So below that, we can display the below bar data, and below bar data takes in a widget of the bar area data. So in here we set the show to be true, so we can have that area colored. As you can see the effect, so we can change in the color over here to be colors dot teal dot with opacity. We want the different shades of this teal, and it's going to be 0.07, the lighter shade of teal. There we go. And this is basically the line charts you can display in here. So when you check the design, you can see we have similar one as the one we are building, and the last thing to do is to build up the transaction list you can see in here. So with that, let's proceed with that. So below the container, we are going to have a size box for some spacing. So we provide it a height of 8. Sorry, height of 25. So we can have an enough spacing in here. And below the size box is going to be a row widget that will be containing the text. So in here we set the main axis alignment of the row to be main axis alignment or space between. We want to space out between the two tests. So within the children of the row, the first widget is going to be the test widget that will display a test of transactions. And let's proceed to start this transaction test, right? So you can pass in the style argument, where you pass in the test style. So in this test style, you can set the font size to be 17. And also set the font weight to be font weight dot bold. So let's make it 700. So we need one more additional text in here, right? So I'll be returning a row. The reason why I'm returning a row is so next to the text is a button, right? So I need one more row widget to align that. So this will be changed to all. Then we need to reduce the font size in here to be 16. And also changing the font weight to be 400. So next to this text is going to be the button. So in here I'll render a button that's going to be the keyboard arrow down button. So let's change the color of this button. We are going to change the color to be a teal color. So colors.teal and saving the changes. There we go. So this is how we wanted it. So below that is where you are going to display our transaction list, right? And that's basically going to be a list style with a leading, subtitle, and a trailing value. So below the row over here is going to be a column, and this column is going to expect a children. So I'm going to generate using the list. So list.generate, and it expects the length to be passing. So I'm going to pass in the length of 3 with a callback function where we can access the index in here and return a widget. So the widget I'm going to return in here is going to be the list style widget. So with this list style widget, we can pass in the leading, and that's going to be the widget at the very start within this list style, and that's going to be the circle avatar. So in here we need to provide a background color, and this background color is going to be from RGB. We pass in the red, green, blue value as we've been doing. So I'll pass in that. As you can see, so within the chart of this circle avatar is going to be an icon. So I don't have the exact icon, so I'll be going with this icon. That's a payment rounded icon. So let's change the color to be a blue color. So colors.blue. There we go. So next to this circle avatar is going to be a text, right? So the list that we can provide a title, and the title is going to take in a text, and that will be placed next to the circle avatar. So I'll pass in the text of Smart Pay UI Kit and saving the changes. So before I save the changes, so let's style this. So we can assign the text style. So in the text style, we can provide a font weight, and the font weight is going to be font weight of 600. There we go. So let's provide the cons in here, and below the text we are going to have a subtitle, and that will be below the title. So it's going to be return a text widget displaying the amount in here. So let's proceed to start this subtitle text. So I'm going to have the same styling over here, and changing the font weight to be 500, and also set the font size to be 14. There you go. So this actually needs to be a trailing, right? It needs to be at the very end. So I'll change in the subtitle over here to be a trailing argument, so that it will be placed at the very end. There we go. Then we need to provide a subtitle value. It's going to be a text. So I'll pass in the text in here of UI8.net. And that's basically it. So let's check with the design. That looks pretty much similar. So that's basically it. See you on the next tutorial. Until then, stay tuned.